Hello all, and welcome to another post-work beer review. It's a nice little drizzle outside right now. Yeah, and it just hit me. I'm probably going to build up quite a backlog because I only really upload 2 videos a week, but I'm recording more than 2 videos a week now. But that's fine. It'll give me something to go and fill out dry January with if I get into a backlog situation again. Yeah, there's quite a bit to review before, you know, dry January comes around. And what is it that we are reviewing today? Well, I reviewed this about 3 years ago. This is from the Kizakura Brewing Company. Let's see here, where did I put that? I could have swore I put, um, yes, my brilliance, my brilliance. Where did I put it? I had it for the previous video. You can go and refer to the previous video. Well, I had the pamphlet that my mom gave me, which showed the brewery, but I seem to have misplaced it. Uh, Story of my life. As you can see, I'm not a very organized person. I'm kind of a cluttered person. But anyways, what are we reviewing from the Kizakura Brewing Company today? Kizakura, being primarily a sake brewing company in Kyoto, uses a lot of sake rice. And Yamadanishiki, and I'm not sure if that's correct pronunciation of it, is a rice that is used in the making of sake. And it's used in the making of this beer. So let's see here. Mild sake and rice aroma, creamy and slightly light taste, using King of Sake rice. So I'm hoping this one's a bit fresher. Like I said, I reviewed this. I haven't watched my previous review, so I kind of want to go into it blind and see my thoughts on it once more. And yeah, I'm hoping this one's more fresh than the bottle I had previously. I mentioned it didn't taste all that fresh. Hoping this one's a bit fresher. I don't think it's going to be fresh brewed because nothing imported from Japan is really that fresh brewed. Even American beers, stuff brewed in California, I mean, the freshest I've ever seen it is slightly over a month, from packaging date. So anything, like from Germany or Japan, I would guess about 2 to 3 months would be the freshest we'd see it from packaging. But without much further ado, let's just get straight to this, shall we? Okay, perfect pour. 2 fingers of head, a nice yellow coloration, slightly darker to my eyes than it appears on the camera, with a fluffy white head. Yeah. So I think they used, I'm definitely getting a yeasty note to it that's smells kind of Hefeweizen-y. If I'm not mistaken, they used a Hefeweizen yeast as part of the brewing of this. So kind of like a little bit of clove there. Strong floral note. A multi-graininess. Slight citrus note to it as well. Yeah. Maybe a bit on the too cold side. I only had this one out for a couple minutes. All in all, nothing really stands out about the nose. It's a bit closed up right now, but that's probably just due to the cold. But overall, fairly pleasant aroma. onto the palate now, shall we? Hmm. So a bit too cold. Feel like I'm losing some definition in the front. Very much a beer flavored beer. Some subtle, lasting hop bitterness in the finish, with a very distinct grainy top note there. Also some floral hopping too. Very subtle sweetness up front. A decent level of hop bitterness throughout. Hop bitterness doesn't have too much dimensionality to it. I'm not getting too much of those kind of clove-like notes that were in the bouquet, either in the top note or maybe just a little bit in the mids to finish. Just a little bit. But that's really the only kind of phenolic note that's sort of showing up there. But yeah, this definitely 100% tastes more or less pretty fresh. Like I said, not getting too much dimensionality to the hop bitterness, maybe just a slight, you know, citrus zest element in the mids all the way into the long finish. But I don't think it was supposed to have too much hop presence in that sense. Mm. Yeah, as it's warming up now, there's more floral aspects showing in the top note in the fronts to mids, as well as the sort of complex maltiness on the palate. Slightly herbaceous notes there in the front as it warms up a bit. Mm. And somewhat evocative of apple in the fronts as well. Just briefly. Yeah, having much more hop presence definitely changes this beer around completely. Um, yeah, it just seems more lively, more complex. That's why you should drink all like these sessionable beers. Well, I guess it's not really sessionable, but it's at 5% ABV. Um, you know, it falls well within the category of beers that should be drunk more or less fairly fresh. You shouldn't have it sitting on the shelf for like 6 months before you drink it. Yeah. So fairly complex, fairly nuanced. But in the end, very much a beer flavored beer. Nothing really kind of pushes it too much in an odd direction, really. I think this one, is not going to really challenge a person's palate. Unlike the matcha IPA, I could definitely see myself drinking this one again. This is definitely like a sushi or sashimi beer. Probably sushi. Sashimi would be a little bit too delicate, I would think. Or tempura. Yeah, tempura would definitely go well with this. Yeah, as it warms up, lots of great flavors kind of unfolding. Nothing really stands out. Everything's kind of delicate and subtle, so nothing really pops out on its own. But at the same time, there's no real clashing, there's no real off notes. Just a fairly decent beer. I am actually pretty happy to revisit this one. This one is pretty nice. Um, as for what the sake rice adds to it, I'm kind of at a loss at this point. Um, Other than like maybe the part of the floral aspect, um, I don't think. Well, I guess there's also the complex graininess. Maybe it's usually rice is used to ferment a very clean tasting beer, but maybe this, being that it's a sake rice rather than whatever rice they use in um, brewing of rice lagers, has a bit more character to it. I don't know for sure, but I would guess that the rice is adding something to the complexity of the character here. Not by itself, but you know, um, in tandem with the other elements, the hopping and the yeast. Ah. So again, this is a gift from my father. Um, this is a damn fine beer. The more I drink it, the more I'm actually really liking it. Try to get it as fresh as possible, and I'm not exactly sure how you can tell it because, like I said, they just have like the production codes instead of like a packaging date or a bottling date. But yeah, having this one fairly fresh as opposed to something that I was fairly sure was sitting on the shelf for about 6 months or even more, um, really makes a difference. So yeah, Kyoto Yamadanishiki Ale. If you see this one, definitely give it a shot. I think this is one of those great but understated craft beers. Yeah, this one's, I would say, much better than the matcha IPA, which is a decent imperial IPA, but other than the fact that it's kind of got like that green gimmick to it, doesn't stand out as good or bad. This one definitely has more going for it, I would say. And that, folks, is your beer review for this late evening. Cheers. Or kampai.